I'm Mick Garris, and we've got a bit of a change of pace on the Fantasy Film Festival for you this week. Our film is Americathon, a spoof of the future, and our guest tonight is one of the stars of Americathon, Fred Willard. Fred, thanks for joining us here.
Pleasure to be here. I'm a science fiction movie fan.
That's what I was going to first bring up. The first time I saw you, not on screen, was at the World Theater in downtown Hollywood.
Oh, yes.
Seeing a monster movie called Eaten Alive, and you were reading at the breaks Amityville Horror.
It might have been overdosing.
It says as much about me as about you. So
that's an interesting theater for people that don't know it. They usually have triple features. I remember when all seats were 50 cents.
Right.
Now with inflation, it's probably $1.50. Triple feature, you see films that were never shown again or seen. You go in, you put down your money, you can see bizarre scenes and horrifying things that'll curdle your blood, and then they turn down the lights and start the movie. And they can be pretty good too.
Well, what's the attraction? Why do you like horror and science fiction?
Gee, that's interesting. I don't know if it'd take a
That wasn't on the
psychiatrist
card, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I just enjoy them because, I don't know. I wish I had a more scientific answer.
Okay,
or
I should have warned you for that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Television versus features. You've done a lot of TV work,
Yes.
most notably on Fernwood Tonight and America Tonight. You were one of the hosts on Real People in
Yes.
the early shows.
Yes.
And you've done features like Silver Streak.
Yes.
What's the difference to you?
Well, films, I think, seem to me are more prestigious if you're in a feature film. But the advantage of doing TV shows, of course, is you can do a show, and in 2 weeks it can be on, and everyone in the country can see it. Now, I have a film coming out in July, How to Beat the High Cost of Living, also a fantasy film. No, I'm joking there, or attempting to.
I'm sorry, I missed
But that was done last October. I did a movie in January and February that Buck Henry wrote and directed called First Family. But it's been done. I've been done with it for 2 months, and it won't be out till December. So by the time it comes out, you could, it's already old news. But TV, Real People, it was live. You go into the studio, and in 1 hour, everyone on the East Coast had seen you. If you make a mistake, it's there.
Right.
So it's more fun. I enjoy television more.
Now, your first national exposure really was on with the Ace Trucking Company, guesting and doing
Yes.
TV spots. You were an improvisational comedian with the Ace Trucking Company.
Yes.
You've been an actor, comedic actor. You've been a straight actor in Salem's Lot.
Yes.
Which one of those best suits you?
Well, I think I'm more comfortable in comedy. But sometimes when you try to do comedy, I mean, many nights with the Ace Trucking Company, I realized that I had a natural bent towards being very serious when I found out that no one would laugh. But I was always more comfortable in comedy. I don't know why. Again, the same reason that I don't know why I like horror films.
Right.
But I like straight acting. And one time I wanted to be like a Burt Lancaster or something. Still, get on a horse and ride across the desert. I still would like to. I think my one goal now would be if someone would sign me to play the part of Ted Williams in his biography. I'm a big baseball fan too. So that's the kind of thing I'd like to do.
Okay, comedy versus drama is an interesting thing for an actor and for a comedian, but Real People must have been a real change of pace for you.
Yes, it was. George Slaughter, the producer, called me in with that, and he said, "Fred, we're doing this show." He explained it, and he said, "I want you." I said, "Well, George, I'm not really or Mr. Slaughter at the time, because I did know him, and I was quite impressed by meeting him. And he said, I said, "Why do you want me? I've never done this." He said, "I saw you on Fernwood Tonight, how you could sit and talk with the zaniest people and really follow them as if you understood and agreed with them. But the difference is there, you're really talking to people," and I was playing myself. And I said, he said, "Well, let's do one. We're just going to do one of these and see how it goes." So I did one, and it turned into 4 and then 6. And then I just didn't feel that comfortable doing it. I didn't want to go on the next season. It was fun, and there was a lot of traveling, which I liked, but you'd go from Los Angeles to New York and get into New York, and you're 3 hours behind schedule. 2 in the morning there, it's still only 11 out here, and the local producer would say, "Okay, we're going to meet in the hotel lobby at 7 a.m., get down to Brooklyn," and I think that determined it more than anything. I didn't like to get up that early. But I did, after that I got a lot of offers to host shows. To host, would you be interested in hosting? We're doing a new talk show. Would you like to host it? And it's a little off from what I really wanted to do. I wanted to be an actor or a comedian, and I just didn't feel that comfortable.
Let's talk a little about hosting talk shows.
Okay.
America Tonight and
I'll
Fernwood
tell you
Tonight.
about hosting talk shows, and you may not know anything about it.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes, you can.
I could use a couple points.
Yes, I'll tell you.
America Tonight and Fernwood Tonight, two of my favorite shows, basically the same show with a different title and reworking.
Yes.
Tell me how that was done. That was a nightly show.
Mm-hmm.
It was 5 days a week.
Yes, the working conditions were wonderful for someone like me who likes to sleep late. We came in at 12 noon, and we'd have the script. A lot of people asked me if it was improvised or how it was a whole script. We'd do 2 a day, and you'd read through. I'd sit here just like I am with you, and Martin Mull would be sitting there, and the guests would come on, and we'd read through the script. And we'd see their little act with whatever they're going to do. And then they'd have a 5-minute break. We'll go into show number 2. And sometimes the actor who had been called in to do, he might have 6, 7 pages of monologue. He'd say, "Is that it?" And we'd say, "Yeah, that's it. Come back at 4 o'clock and we're going to film it." And then we'd run through the next show, and in an hour and a half we were done. We'd break about 2 hours for lunch and makeup and rewrites, and then come back and do both shows. And that was really a lot of fun, because a lot of times at the last minute they would give me 3 and 4 pages of rewrites. I'd be literally leaving the dressing room to go out. They'd be calling me and say, "Fred, we've just rewritten this speech of yours."
I was going to say, were there many surprises on the show?
A lot of surprises, yes. And then I would say to them, "You can't do this. You must come around. Give me a half hour." And the next day I'd be walking out, "Fred, here's a rewrite."
No.
So after a while I got to enjoy it. You can be surprised what you can do when you have to. Someone can hand you 2 pages of script and go out and do it, and you do it. It's like cramming for an exam in school. You can cram for it. The next morning you don't know any of the answers, but for that half hour you knew it. And plus, survival, you don't want to look like an idiot any more so than possible in my case, out on the camera.
Did you, now as Jerry Hubbard, you were doing it every day for a long time. How much did that influence you? Jerry Hubbard was a total buffoon on the show.
Yes.
You had to live that part.
Yes.
Did you?
Well, I think a little of that was in me to begin with. A little Jerry Hubbard, which I try to cover up a lot by talking slower. And I've often thought of using a pipe, when I don't know an answer, you can puff on a pipe, and people say, "Geez, whatever he says sounds very wise." But I enjoyed it. I really loved the character. I'd never played a character like that. It evolved as a combination of what the writers gave me to do on the script and what I thought the character should be. And I used to walk down the street, and some people would walk by and say, "Mr. Willard, how are you? I enjoy your work so much." And I would accept it that way. I'd say, "Well, thank you very much." And I'd walk a little further, and someone would say, "Hi, Jerry. What are you doing?" I'd say, "I don't know." So it just depended how they'd react to me, I would react to them.
So you suited your answer to who they thought you were.
That's right, yes. It wasn't like I read a lot of actors don't want to be associated with the character. They don't want to perform the character. I really liked the character. It was a very lovable character, and I was so fond of the show that I never resented people asking me about it or saying, "Are you very much like that?"
Right. Let's talk a little about Americathon.
Yes.
Neil Israel, the director, also has an improvisational comedy background. You have an improvisational comedy background. How structured was this film?
Well, as far as I saw on the set, it was quite structured. It was scripted and word for word. That's almost surprised me when I know Neil Israel personally. I've known him years ago when he used to call me. He worked at ABC doing radio promo spots for movies. He would call me in to do 60-second spots on the radio. And he did tunnel vision.
Right.
And one of the other members of the Ace Trucking Company helped him write that and co-produced it. His name is Michael Mislove. And I didn't get into the film for some reason. Some problem I didn't get into it. But when he called me to do it, I said, "Oh, great, it'll be another tunnel vision," which made God knows how many millions of dollars.
Right.
And it'll be fun. And I went over there, and I got quite impressed when they started doing it. I said, "Gee, he's really doing a movie." They had Harvey Korman and all these big production numbers. And what was my point? I started to make a point, and I've lost it. The point is, it was a scripted movie. It was a professional film. It wasn't like, "Okay, what do you want to do? Let's do something today." You could make suggestions and reword things too, but it was scripted.
About that film, it was not particularly successful in the theaters. Why do you think that was?
Because it was terrible. No, I don't know.
We're showing it in a moment, so hold on.
I only said that as a joke. I didn't mean to. I was quite surprised at how good the movie was when I was doing it. I think what happened is, not to put all the blame on them, the producers, I don't know whether it was United Artists or Lorimar, took the finished film back and started to cut it. And cut this and cut that, because when I saw the finished film, I said, gee, they left out a lot of good things, a lot of scenes. There were a lot of subtle touches which were very nice. There was, I don't know if you noticed in the film, as they're passing in the White House, they have the portraits of the former presidents, and one was Fred Silverman, who turns out the nation had elected to office for 4 years, which is, you could almost believe that he's going to straighten out the country.
Well, just a few words about the film. The film is about, the year is in the 1990s, right?
About then, yes. And it's interesting, a lot of it is about the fuel crisis that starts out with people on roller skates and skateboards and bicycles. They started filming that before this last energy crisis. And when we were just about done, the gas shortage started, and it was very topical, very, I think, right on the mark. I mean, things could actually end up this way in the country in 20 or 30 years, and I really am puzzled why it didn't get, I don't think it deserved as the bad reviews it got, and I have a feeling it's the type of film that in 20 years it'll be brought back, like a cult thing, and look at this movie, someone will find it, like Night of the Living Dead, which is not that old, but Rocky Horror film didn't do well.
Right.
But it's shown every Friday and Saturday night in these theaters all over the country.
What are your favorite films to watch? What could you watch 100 times?
Oh, well, there's very few films I've watched more than once. One was, which I don't know if you're going to show here, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
We're trying, yeah.
Tobe Hooper's film. And I did a film that he directed called Salem's Lot on TV.
Based on the Stephen King book.
Yes, which is one. I like good horror films. A few movies I've seen more than once. The Court Jester with Danny Kaye.
Right, sure.
Yankee Doodle Dandy with George M. Cohan. I usually can't go back and see a movie twice or 3 times. A lot of people can. I've seen it. I want to go on to something else.
Now, are you more comfortable creating something as you're going along as you do in improvisational work, or with a script? Or does it make any difference to you?
You mean
professionally, as an actor?
I think more comfortable. What I'd like to be given is a premise and do this. We're in a scene, and feel free to make up your own words. If you're really settled with a script. That's one difficulty I had in doing films and television, coming off of Ace Trucking Company. Suddenly I was doing someone else's script, and the lines were written, and it's almost unnatural that someone would write lines for somebody else and say, here, you say this in this situation. If I wrote lines for you to do as an interviewer, you could do it, but it'd say, well, wait a minute, this is not how I talk.
Would you like to do that? Would you like to write?
I've started writing. I wrote an idea for a film for myself, and I'm working on an idea for a TV series, and it's difficult, just the tedium of writing. I would like to say, here's the idea, tell it to someone, and say, I know just what you mean, and they would write it down.
Well, it's time for us to close, but just quickly, I'd like to know what's coming up for you.
Well, a movie called, when will this be shown? When are we going to see
this? This will be on in August.
How to Beat the High Cost of Living will still be around, hopefully at the first-run theaters. It won't be at the World yet with Screaming Skull. But in December is First Family, a very funny film that Buck Henry wrote and directed, which Harvey Korman is in. Harvey's in this movie.
Oh, great.
Dick Benjamin, Jane Curtin.
Okay.
And, yes, I like to see films that either have have some significant message, or girls who are dressed scantily, one of the two. Well, and I think there are a couple of scantily dressed girls, and again, they cut out a scene where there was a girl naked from the waist up in this film, and I say that may be why this film is not as successful as it could have been.
Well, this does have at least scantily clad women. It has Fred Willard. It has social comment, all you could want from a spoof by Neil Israel.
One or the other, social comment or girls with scanty clothing.
And so it's time to say goodbye. Thank you, Fred Willard, for joining us, and thank you for joining us here at Fantasy Film Festival.
This year. I haven't seen it in a while.
Okay.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.